On Monday night, there is the biggest football game of the entire NFL season. Well, at least the biggest game so far. It is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. In today's video, I'm going to go over in-depth detail on who I think will win and why. Part of the reason why this is seen as the biggest game in the NFL is, of course, the great teams who just met in the Super Bowl. Another part is the revenge game between Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce. Even though Jason says it's not a revenge game, in his mind, it is to me, because the Chiefs have stolen my Super Bowl from me as an Eagles fan and had ruined the entire month of February. So first things first, Taylor Swift is almost guaranteed to not make it to the game. So very unfortunate for all of the Swifties, for the NFL rankings, and for Travis Kelce. So Taylor Swift had her concert in Brazil canceled earlier this weekend, and she pushed her concert back to Monday, which means it won't line up. It's almost impossible for her to make it to this game. So why does this matter for the game? You probably saw the stat of how much better Travis Kelce is with Taylor Swift in attendance. And this has continued, and it not only affects Travis Kelce, but the entire team. With her in attendance, they are 4-0 and score 28.5 points per game. And Travis Kelce averages about 108 receiving yards per game. Without her there, the Chiefs are 3-2. Travis Kelce only averages 33 yards per game, and the Chiefs' offense only averages about 18.5 points per game. So, I think this is the only stat I needed. Eagles will win. Let's move on. But not really. I think we all know this is probably just complete coincidence, but I figured I'd mention it. So anyways, now further into the real in-depth analysis. I think most people agree that these are the top two teams in the NFL right now. Some people think the Ravens are up there, although they lost Mark Andrews, so they're definitely not as good anymore. And maybe 49ers, maybe Lions, but I think most people agree Chiefs, Eagles, top two teams in the NFL. So it's going to be a heavyweight fight. They also have the top two favorites to win MVP in Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. So will this be a shootout? Maybe, maybe not. Currently the Chiefs are favored to win by 3 points, and the over-under is 45.5 points, which is about average for an NFL game, to be honest. But since points have been down this season, a little higher than average, but nothing unusual. Typically a high-scoring game has an over-under of 50 or more. And one last thing before I get into more detail is Andy Reid is famously known for being great after bye weeks. He is 21-3 as a head coach after a bye week. So, that's excellent. And his secret is he essentially sends everybody home for the week and just, plans by himself and with a few coaches. But he sends all the players home just to relax. So that's great. But Nick Sirianni, on the other hand, has a 100% win rate after bye weeks in the regular season. He's 2-0. He is undefeated. So who knows? An immovable object versus a immovable object. Unstoppable force. I'm going to go with that. So first, I'll start off with the Eagles. So the Eagles offense has been excellent this year. They haven't reached their full potential, and if you've watched the games, you've seen a bunch of turnovers. You've seen it just not look as clean as it did last year. But the Eagles offense is still top 5 in points scored per game. They're still top 10 in passing yards and top 10 in rushing yards, and Jalen Hurts the past 3 weeks has just continued to look better and better. Of course, as I said earlier, they do have the weakness in turnovers, especially Jalen Hurts throwing interceptions. However, this seems to have faded away some. And of course, how can I mention the Eagles offense without mentioning A.J. Brown, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, definitely top 3, and he just set the record for most 125-yard games in a row. So they're rolling there. And they just managed to do enough to win. Hard to argue with that. They also have a very solid offensive line, and they have their secret weapon, the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it, it is a free ticket for 1.5 yards whenever you want to use it. So automatic fourth down conversions, just like that. And while Taylor won't be there, DeAndre Swift will be there, and he is a big weapon for the Eagles offense and can rush for a touchdown or, a 100-yard game any moment. Like, he is a solid running back, and behind the Eagles offensive line, who is getting Cam Jurgens back, should be able to rush all over this Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense on the other side of the ball, they're not a cupcake. They are number 2 in points allowed per game at only 15.9. Their pass defense has been very good. They are number 5 in their pass defense. And, of course, if you were better at pass or rush defense, I would pick pass defense. So that's how you score in today's NFL. But the Eagles can easily capitalize on this and just run the ball all the time. Keep Mahomes off the field, keep him on the bench, run down the field, score a touchdown, and then hopefully your defense can actually make a stop. But, of course, yes, Chiefs defense, very legitimate, and it's one of the best defenses I've seen ever that is paired with the best quarterback of all time. So, yes, you had Tom Brady, and the Patriots defense was good at times, but most of the time they weren't top 2 like this Chiefs defense is this year. And the Chiefs defense is also young, so, they could even get better. Then on the other side of the ball, the Chiefs offense. So, yes, Patrick Mahomes is great, but he has no wide receivers, none at all. If you watched him in week 1, that was some of the worst wide receiver play I have ever seen. It looked like high schoolers out there, and it's improved some, but not much. They do have Travis Kelce, who is the best tight end ever, or, one of the best tight ends ever. And this has allowed them to have the 5th most passing yards per game and help them manage to score a league average amount of points per game at about 23 points per game, which is 15th in the league. But when you think of Mahomes, you don't think of average offense, you think of great. So what's going wrong? And honestly, it's these wide receivers. Their running game is okay. I mean, I'm kind of used to the Chiefs not really having a run game at all, or not much of one. So this year, they're 19th in the league, below average, and they average 103 yards per game rushing. They're going to get nowhere near that in this game. The Eagles' defense averages allowing 66 rushing yards per game. One of the best rushing defenses ever. They're on pace for about 1,000 rushing yards in the whole season. And if you don't know, that is insanely low. An average rush defense in the NFL gives up about 110 rushing yards per game. Allowing 66 is insane, and second place is about 90, which is, 50% higher. So the Eagles' rush defense could be one for the history books. So if you have Pacheco in your fantasy lineup, he might score a touchdown. Things could go wrong, but I don't think the Chiefs rushing game is going to do anything this entire game. What it comes down to is Patrick Mahomes and his no-name wide receivers and Kelce against an Eagles passing defense that has struggled the entire season. While the Eagles are first in rush defense, they are 28th in pass defense. And they are 18th in points allowed, so I guess average. But for the Chiefs offense to score, they're just going to have to do what they always do against the Eagles, what they did in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and that is just throwing a ton of dump offs, throwing a lot of mid-range passes to these random wide receivers, and just carving the Eagles up, slowly marching down the field. They're probably not going to get a big play. I mean, maybe one, but they're probably not going to get big plays. What they're going to do, what Mahomes is going to do, and Andy Reid is going to do, is they're just going to constantly get 5 to 10 yards per pass and carve the Eagles defense up. So can the Eagles defense get enough sacks, maybe a turnover or two, to limit the Chiefs offense, which has been limitable this year? But while the Eagles offense could easily rely on the run, the Chiefs offense will most definitely rely on the pass. Now, the Eagles defense has struggled against the pass, as I just have been saying. One thing that could happen is Byard, the safety they just traded for, who hasn't looked that great so far, but they did just trade for him, and he has a history of playing against Travis Kelce very well. So who knows? Maybe Byard against Kelce can slow him down, but a little unlikely because Kelce is a Hall of Famer and Byard is getting old. Another potential way to guard Kelce would be using Bradbury, who has also struggled this year, because they had Bradbury practice guarding tight ends essentially the entire offseason, so maybe they were planning on using him in this way against the Chiefs. Just, another possibility. So overall, as I've been saying, these are both elite teams. They both have weaknesses for sure, and extreme strengths. So, what do I think will happen? I think the Eagles are going to win. It could be some bias coming out. I think that the Chiefs will be able to march down the field pretty consistently, but I think the Eagles defense will be able to make enough big plays to slow them down. And then the Eagles offense on the other side, I think will be able to run the ball for a lot of yards consistently if they want to, and maybe occasional big plays to A.J. Brown. I'm going to just go ahead and say Eagles win 27, Chiefs like 24. So, close game. But in my opinion, the Eagles are the better team. And after this week, we'll see the Eagles as the best team in the NFL. But anyways, thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. Comment if you want to. And bye.